I just got done playing Assassin's Creed Shadows for 4 hours, and I have quite a bit to say. Before we jump into everything though, I want to thank Ubisoft for inviting me to this event and allowing me to capture footage, which you'll see throughout this video. Quick disclaimer, this is a work in progress build and I was playing remotely, so there was some input delay on my end. Basically, don't judge my gameplay too harshly. Thank you. Alright, with that out of the way, I want to give a little bit of context about my recent history with Assassin's Creed. After Odyssey released, I was burnt out on this series. The yearly releases, the microtransactions, the terrible modern day, and all of the bloated gameplay finally got to me. I honestly don't mind the RPG elements. I think Origins was a fantastic game, and even Odyssey had some decent moments, but it started feeling like a chore to play through this series, and Valhalla reinforced that. So I just stopped making content on the franchise and instead kept revisiting Watch Dogs because I'm a freak. So going into this demo, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I haven't followed AC Shadows at all. I didn't know the main protagonist. I haven't really watched any gameplay, and I haven't kept up with any of the news besides the delays. And because of all that, I feel that really elevated my experience. Using Watch Dogs Legion as an example, and sorry I brought it up again, but when I played that game early, I knew almost every detail beforehand, so nothing really surprised me. But this demo felt different. I was learning about this game for the first time, and that was exciting to me. Of course, that doesn't mean there aren't any criticisms, because I have a few. No game is perfect, but really I just wanted to say at the end of the day, I actually had some fun playing an Assassin's Creed game in 2025. I want to start off by talking about the worlds. We've been asking for Japan for the longest time, and finally Ubisoft have taken a stab at it, although maybe a few years too late, because a lot of people will inherently compare this with a certain other game. That aside, this world is extremely beautiful, which I'm not surprised by. This franchise and other Ubisoft titles always do a great job of making the world look great, and that's no different here. They also brought back dynamic seasons, so the weather and the worlds will constantly look different throughout your journey. As I mentioned, Ubisoft are masters at creating beautiful worlds, but sometimes the overall presentation can feel a bit muddy in comparison. Odyssey is a great example. That world is beautiful, but some of the character models, voice acting, cutscenes, and gameplay fell flat. In my 4 hours with Shadows, these things felt improved, but there are still some areas that need a bit of work. I felt like parkour just felt janky at times, which has been an issue with past AC games. Sometimes you don't land where you want to, sometimes you can't climb a certain thing because of an invisible wall, and just overall, it doesn't feel smooth in some areas. When it works great, but when it doesn't, it can start getting annoying, especially because there's nothing you can do about it, it's just the game. And same thing goes for the actual in-game camera. For the most part, when you're in combat, the camera works great, but there are a few instances when you're inside a building and it's really hard to tell what's going on, especially when there's multiple enemies. I understand with a game of this scale, you cannot make everything perfect unless you're Rockstar, but I'm remaining hopeful it's at least improved because, again, parkour and the camera work really need to be better. As far as the story goes, I don't want to say much just because of potential spoilers, but we did experience some of the beginning of the game, and I felt like it was pretty good for the most part. I like how they introduced both Naue and Yasuke. There were also side characters that felt compelling enough, but truthfully, we only got a small portion of the story. But from what they showed, I genuinely wanted to learn more and keep playing, which, again, I can't believe I'm saying about Assassin's Creed in 2025. I don't know where the story's gonna go, if it's truly gonna focus on the Assassins and Templars. I don't know what modern day looks like. I don't know how impactful some of the choices you make throughout the story will be. From what I played, the main story was compelling enough and I wanted more of it, which is a good sign. From a gameplay perspective, you have the choice between two characters that actually feel different. For example, if you played AC Syndicate, Jacob and Evie felt exactly the same. There really wasn't any differences, But in Shadows, you have Naue, who is very agile and great for those who want more of that assassin experience. And then you have Yasuke, who is basically a tank and is great at taking out multiple enemies at once, but he's very slow, loud, and not great at parkour. I found myself mostly opting to use Naue because I prefer the stealth approach and it just felt more close to that Assassin's Creed experience. I will say though, she is not great at actual in-game combat, and sometimes taking on multiple enemies felt extremely difficult because of that. But I was willing to make those sacrifices and knew what I was getting into. Also, at one point, Yasuke was wanted because of some potential crimes that may or may not have happened in the open worlds, and it was annoying to play as him because guards would always notice him and try to take him out, which normally is fine, but again, he is very slow and hard to escape with. So instead, I would just play as Naue and wait for that wanted level to go away. I will give Ubisoft some credit because I feel like this game holds your hand a lot less. You don't have an eagle to scout the open worlds anymore. You have to use hints to find specific mission areas or recruit assassins to help gather information for you. For me, I really like that, but some people might not. Thankfully, Ubisoft has thought of that, and there is a guided mode option in the menus, so if you want, you can turn that on, and it'll be a lot more straightforward. Ubisoft also added a prone mechanic in Shadows, which honestly I loved, and I think it adds some nice variety to the stealth gameplay. Sometimes I did forget to actually go prone because I'm not used to it. With time though, that becomes second nature, and again, it's just a really nice feature to have. I also remember seeing somewhere that different seasons also change how loud you can be. For example, if it's raining, it's a lot louder, so you can make a bit more noise without someone noticing. If the area is covered in snow, however, you'll naturally be a bit louder. I may be talking out of my ass, so if that's the case, I'm sorry, but if that's real, I think that's a nice touch and will add a lot to the gameplay. I really think there are some great additions. At the same time though, I didn't necessarily feel like I was playing a game that blew me away. I just felt like I was playing another Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, which if you like those games, you'll be happy because it's similar and a bit more polished for the most part. If you're looking for a more traditional experience, I think you'll enjoy Naue and some of those stealth opportunities, but overall, it does still feel like those games I just mentioned. My biggest worry is, even though I had fun for those few hours, is it actually gonna last during an entire playthrough? I don't know how long this game is, or if the story will be engaging enough to keep me interested. All I know is the 4 hours I experienced were pretty fun, but that's just a few hours, and I was experiencing the game for the first time. It's entirely possible that fun aspects could start to wear off, especially if the story and mission designs are not that interesting. But yeah, those are sort of my first impressions. It feels like a more polished RPG Assassin's Creed game. The world itself was great. The overall presentation was good. Combat feels better than Valhalla and Odyssey. There's a lot less hand-holding, and stealth was really good, especially with the ability to now go prone, and there's just smarter AI in general. On the flip side, parkour and some of the camera work still need improvement, and having two characters that feel different enough is nice, but will people just end up playing one or the other? I guess it's nice to have the choice. I just really hope this game can keep my interest, because from what I played, it seemed promising. Let me know what you think of the game so far though. Are you gonna pick it up, wait for a sale, or just not get it at all? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all later.